In closing out his argument to chapter 4, I think Peter makes a fantastically countercultural argument about the concept of hospitality. I think his point here is that Christians need to welcome suffering, show hospitality to the suffering that comes into our life. Now, again, it's coming sort of an indirect way. He has this play on words. This idea of synidzo is what's used in verse 4 and then again in verse 12. He says earlier that the Gentiles will be surprised when you don't accept their hospitality to join them in their sinful activities. And here again, he uses in verse 12 that synidzo word, and he's saying, don't be surprised by the suffering you face. And again, there's this sort of welcoming of it, he's saying. Not if you're doing it, of course, because you've sinned or done something wrong or evil. Of course you're going to suffer because you're violating God's purpose for your life. What he's saying is don't be surprised if you suffer because you are showing the glory and goodness of God to the world, because they will resist God's glory. They don't want to be confronted by the truth and beauty of Christ and his love because they want to be comfortable in their sin. So he's saying welcome this kind of suffering. Welcome it. Why? Because it will refine us. It'll sharpen us. It allows us to participate in the gospel mission that Christ had established, because he suffered, right? He is the one who suffered on our behalf, and now we suffer on behalf of the gospel. This is the idea that Peter is trying to get across. So when we welcome this suffering, it changes our mindset. It changes the way we see the circumstances we face. It's not that God is asking us to be happy that we're suffering. And I don't even believe that it's even telling us that God wants us to suffer or that God's will is that we should suffer. What I think is being said here is that it's God's will that we should walk in obedience, and when we honor God's will, then suffering will come. But never lose heart, because God is going to redeem it in the end. God is going to be the one who ultimately restores all these things that are lost. Why? He's the creator. And as the creator, if he had the power to bring all of this reality into existence, the world we experience, he is going to bring this new creation, a greater creation, through the work of Christ, through us, the church. And all we have to do is continue to walk in obedience. And here's the thing, here's the challenge this week. When we do this, it turns our trials, it turns our sufferings into glory. And that is what we have the greatest opportunity to have an impact in changing the world around us, by showing other people the glory of Jesus Christ in the midst of trials.